Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into what I think is one of the most fascinating moves in the biopharma space right now. We're going to completely deconstruct Novartis's massive acquisition of Myricx Bio. So we're skipping all the surface-level noise and getting right to the core of it, the strategy, the science, and exactly how this shakes up the market. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. $1.5 billion. I mean, just pause and think about that number for a second. It is a completely staggering financial commitment. In the biotech world, we're pretty used to seeing early seed rounds in the tens of millions, or maybe advanced funding hitting a few hundred million. But a $1.5 billion buyout? That is a colossal allocation of capital. It's a massive, concentrated bet by Novartis, and it's basically them putting a giant flag in the ground, signaling exactly where they believe the future of targeted therapeutics is headed. And the wild part is, the initial announcement of this deal basically boiled down to just one single sentence in the press. But make no mistake, the stakes underlying it are an absolute game changer. You see, pharmaceutical mega mergers like this, they aren't just about moving huge piles of money around. They literally reshape the entire pipeline of medicines that will eventually make it to patients. A deal of this magnitude dictates research priorities for the next decade, and it forces the rest of the industry to scramble and respond. So, to really wrap our heads around a deal this big, we first need to establish exactly who is sitting at the table.
What we're looking at here is a classic but fascinating dynamic. On one side, you have the acquirer, Novartis. They're a global pharmaceutical giant, right? They bring the incredibly deep pockets, massive global distribution networks, and all that heavy-duty late-stage clinical trial infrastructure. And on the other side, you have the target, Myricx Bio. They're this highly agile, super innovative biotech firm that happens to hold a very specific, incredibly coveted piece of scientific technology. So, you're probably wondering, what exactly makes Myricx Bio worth that massive premium? Well, broadly speaking, they are a cancer drug maker. But the real secret sauce is their specific scientific edge. Myricx isn't just turning out your standard broad-spectrum therapies. They are true pioneers in precision oncology. Specifically, they focus on next-generation antibody-drug conjugates, or ADCs. Think of it like a highly targeted delivery system. They engineer therapies designed to deliver super potent payloads directly to tumor cells while completely sparing the healthy tissue around them. That proprietary, highly targeted ADC platform is exactly what Novartis is buying here. Which brings us to the big strategic question. Why does a massive, established entity like Novartis aggressively swoop in to lock down this specific ADC technology right now? In 2 words, oncology expansion. But if we dig a little deeper, it's really about securing dominance in a ridiculously competitive landscape. Novartis isn't just trying to incrementally add another drug to their portfolio here. They are actively maneuvering to completely corner the market on targeted solid tumor treatments. By absorbing Myricx's pipeline, Novartis essentially blocks their competitors from getting their hands on this breakthrough technology. It guarantees they remain the absolute heavyweight in the next era of precision cancer care. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer market reality behind these medical terms. We all know what oncology is fundamentally focused on, right? But what we really need to zoom in on is why it continues to be the most heavily invested therapeutic area in modern pharma. The global oncology drug market is fast approaching the $300 billion mark. With an aging population and a massive industry shift toward personalized medicine, whoever cracks the code on these highly specific, tolerable treatments, well, they effectively command the future of healthcare economics. Let's look at how this whole thing built up so logically. First, Novartis realizes they have an urgent strategic need to level up their precision medicine capabilities. So they survey this incredibly crowded landscape of biotech startups, and boom, they identify Myricx ADC pipeline as the perfect catalyst to speed up their timeline. And rather than risk getting dragged into a messy, prolonged bidding war later on, they just preemptively lock the technology down by paying a massive premium upfront. It is a ruthless, highly purposeful sequence of corporate strategy. So, the crucial point is the complete alignment of all these moving parts. You have Novartis directing its immense capital at Myricx Bio specifically to capture their unique innovations in the cancer drug sector, all culminating in that $1.5 billion valuation. When you strip away all the daily market noise, this is the structural reality of the deal. It's a highly targeted capital strike, basically designed to secure a scientific monopoly. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the macro shift we are witnessing across the entire biopharma industry right now. A financial commitment of this scale tells us that the pursuit of breakthroughs in targeted cancer therapies is still commanding the absolute highest premiums in the global market. It really highlights a reality where pharmaceutical giants are totally willing to bet massive fortunes, not just on drugs that are already proven, but on the underlying scientific platforms that are going to generate the blockbuster treatments of tomorrow. Which brings us to our final, pivotal thought for today. Will this $1.5 billion gamble actually yield the next revolutionary cancer therapy, or is it ultimately just a defensive play in an increasingly crowded ADC market? How Novartis actually integrates and scales Myricx's technology is going to definitively answer that question, and you can be sure the entire medical community will be watching very, very closely. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I can't wait to explore our next topic with you.